It was odd at the time that there was none of Ryan Coberger's DNA in the trash, considering he was staying in the home, and to walk into the house and see him allegedly stuffing his personal trash in these plastic baggies now answers that question that we've had as to why his DNA was not in the family's trash.
Yeah, it was very, very interesting. It's almost like this was just a little bit of information that wasn't supposed to come out. It obviously wasn't in the search warrant, but to think that they found him in the kitchen. Were there any other little new nuggets, Caitlin, that came out of this new interview with the prosecutor there in Pennsylvania?
There were, Brian, and he raised a couple of things that I'm sure you thought as well as I did when I first saw this list of what was taken. You're looking at it right here, a pair of size 13 Nike sneakers. And we know, of course, that there was a latent shoe print found at the crime scene on King Road in Idaho. It'll be very interesting to see if that latent shoe print is also a size 13. And Mancuso said that could play a very interesting role. We believe the shoe print at the scene were a pair of Vans, so they don't appear to be the same sneaker, but the size is going to be important. They also took a buckle swab or a cheek swab from Coberger, and that DNA was, of course, what they then used to match to their suspect profile. And that's going to be huge, crucial pieces of evidence.
Yeah, and also just so interesting to know what he was doing when police showed up there to the parents' house. Caitlin Becker, thank you so much for staying on top of everything. Meanwhile, Brian Coberger's lawyers are fighting tooth and nail to keep the gag order over the quadruple murder case in place. They don't want it going anywhere. They filed an opposition with the Idaho Supreme Court claiming restrictions are needed to protect Coberger's right to a fair trial, and are calling the media's coverage of the case grotesquely twisted. That's a quote they use, grotesquely twisted. The defense is up against 30 news organizations who have joined together to ask the court to overturn the order, arguing that the gag order violates free speech. They say it also prevents the victims' families from having attorneys speak to the media on their behalf. And joining me now with all of their insights on this, Jennifer Koffendorfer, former FBI special agent with 28 years of law enforcement experience. Jennifer, thanks for being with us. First of all, the minute I heard about this, I wanted to ask you about this new piece of information that the police, when they showed up to Brian Coberger's parents' house in Pennsylvania, 1:25 in the morning, I think a lot of us assumed they were going in the middle of the night, Jennifer, because they wanted to catch them off guard, that the family was asleep. But now to find out from the prosecutor that Brian Coberger was in shorts in the
28
kitchen,
years and she's still a fucking idiot.
He was wearing medical type gloves, that's how they described it, and putting what they called his personal trash into individual Ziploc baggies. I'm just trying to envision this myself. He's in the kitchen doing this. What do you make of it, Jennifer?
Well, this is a criminology PhD student, and I would believe he would know that plastic degrades DNA. It causes the growth of bacteria, and so therefore, I think he was trying to protect his DNA. That, of course, combined with the fact he had gloves on, which is the obvious indicator that he was protecting his DNA, and in fact, it worked, because when law enforcement went there to get those samples, they didn't find his DNA.
Do you think they were surprised to see this, Jennifer? I mean, do you think they expected it? And how does I mean, look, we've seen the search warrant. We know what they took, but surely they've also documented what they encountered with him, because it seems really, really important to the case overall.
Right. The search warrant return is really just the list that goes back to the judge. It's not the details regarding how everything was collected. Those details are going to be in what we call an FD 302, and it's going to say who found it. There's going to be a sketch. There's going to be photographic evidence. It's going to have all these details that actually this assistant DA just told us about.
Okay, I want to bring Richard Block, an Idaho criminal defense attorney, into the conversation, because I'm very curious, Richard, what you would think about this. I mean, surely this cannot be good news for the defense. If you're representing Brian Coberger and you find out that the cops show up and he's in the kitchen with medical gloves on, putting pieces of trash in individual Ziploc baggies, I mean, this can't be a good thing if you're trying to defend the guy.
It's definitely not a good look. This is not something that any defense attorney would want to hear about. However, we really don't know what it is yet. We just have what is really hearsay from a district attorney in Pennsylvania telling us what happened. This is not directly from any of the police paperwork. This is not directly from any of the officers. And who knows? A lot of times when these facts look really bad in the beginning, as it turns out, once you get closer to trial, they're not quite what they seem.
Yeah, but it seems like that would be a hard one to explain away, Richard. I mean, taking your individual pieces of trash and putting them in individual Ziploc bags. And again, I'm just trying to envision cops busting in at 1:25 in the morning and finding him in the gloves in the kitchen. It seems like a hard thing to explain away.
It definitely is. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That is a hard one to explain. I have no idea what they might come up with. But it's, to speculate too much about it at this point, I think might be a bit much. It does. Certainly, you're going to see a prosecutor say that it's an indication of his guilty mind, that he knows that he had, evidence on him and he was trying to get rid of it. But what the defense may do, that we might be surprised.
It also makes me wonder about his parents, Jennifer. And obviously we don't want to jump to any conclusions with them. But if they were awake, maybe they were sleeping. But if you see your kid doing this with the gloves on, sitting in the kitchen with medical style gloves on, and putting personal trash items in individual Ziploc baggies, you would think that would be somewhat suspicious as a parent.
Yes, but recall, this is at 1:25 in the morning, and we are dealing by all records that we found. He is a night owl.
Yeah.
And so I would believe that possibly he was doing his more nefarious / suspicious / concerning actions when they were asleep.
Yeah, that's a really good point. 1:25 in the morning, they probably were asleep at that point. Richard, I want to move on here to this gag order because, I mean, if you look at the docket, this is really heating up. Both sides are going back and forth. This is a whole nother case of its own with these media partners trying to get the gag order thrown out. And now this new filing where the defense called the media coverage grotesquely twisted. What do you make of that, Richard? I mean, do you think they're taking it a step too far?
I mean, that does seem a little far to me. I think as a rhetorical flourish, that's maybe kind of a little over the line for me personally. A lot of attorneys like to use some bold language, though. The media coverage certainly has been intense. I mean, here we're talking about some there has only been one really substantive hearing so far in this case, the arraignment. We haven't even been to preliminary hearing yet, and we've got an awful lot of coverage. So it's definitely intense. I think the terminology they use there is a bit much.
What do you think in terms of the battle over the gag order, Richard? How do you think it'll play out? Because I've obviously covered a lot of trials. I've seen gag orders, but I don't think I've ever seen one that goes this far where no one is really allowed to say anything. And the media does have a right to have information and explain things to the public and to be a watchdog and explain to the public what's happening in court and be able to have a dialogue with some of these players. I mean, do you think that it's going to be loosened up a little bit?
Hard to tell at this point. Obviously, the Idaho Supreme Court's got it at this point. They'll make their decisions. From a defense attorney point of view, I wouldn't want it loosened up at all. I'd want it as broad as possible because I want as much of a blank slate of a jury as possible coming in there. And the less media coverage, the less information that's out there, the better for me.
What about, Jennifer, from a law enforcement point of view? I mean, I know you're retired FBI. They usually don't say anything about anything when they've got an investigation. But could it ever become a problem if things are just too tight-lipped? It fuels rumors, with all the social media stuff.
I don't think so, Brian. Again, with my background at FBI, we never spoke, and you still see that mantra, certainly. And no, I don't think the FBI wants this loosened up. I don't think law enforcement, Latah County, they don't want this loosened up. And the reason is they don't want witnesses being interviewed. They don't want their investigation changed or foiled in any way court proceedings.
Yeah, makes sense. And of course, at the end of the day, a fair trial is what's most important, I think, to everyone involved. But this new information tonight, I'm still sort of processing that when the police went in they found him in the kitchen with the gloves on, taking the trash and putting it into individual Ziploc baggies. Obviously, that's something that we're going to have to dig deeper into, see if we can find out more details. Jennifer Koffendorfer, Richard Block, thank you both so much for coming on tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay, still to come tonight, serving 2 life sentences for murdering his wife and son. A lot of killers would never be heard from again, but not Alec Murdoch. Murdoch has appeals, a lot more trials, and still more death investigations.
Okay. Let me say what I got to say while we're in a commercial, because I know some people smoke way too much pot, stoner. I didn't say anything about not making a mess when you kill someone. My point was, sometimes you got to, lay things out for people because they hear things that I don't say. If Brian is that OCD and that particular and meticulous about recycling, putting garbage cans, wearing gloves for garbage, putting garbage in little Ziploc bags. People that recycle do that kind of stuff. So I have a little bit of an issue believing that someone that meticulous is going to brutally murder 4 people and leave a big old mess everywhere. He's either clinically insane, which he very well might be, or he's innocent and he had help doing it. I don't know. But the fact that he was that meticulous bothers me. I understand wearing the gloves if you're trying to not, have fingerprints at your parents' house, but it's your parents' house. Your DNA is going to be there regardless. Did he have gloves on when he went to restaurants? Did he have gloves on at his, did he always wear gloves? Was this something that he may not have, was this something new? It's not like he was over at a girlfriend's house and he was trying to cover his fingers. It's his own parents' house. His own parents. So his DNA is going to be everywhere. His DNA is going to be all over that house, regardless if he wore gloves or not. So he wouldn't need to wear gloves at his own parents' house due to the fact that his DNA would be all over it anyway. So that's where I have a hard time. And I'm not saying I believe he's innocent. Don't get me wrong, because I don't. But all of these little things make me think that something is off. Whether he is a mentally, criminally crazy, I don't know. No. So from what they just said, Mickey, he was wearing gloves when he was putting garbage into Ziploc bags. Okay, now let's think about that for a second. If you don't want to touch garbage, you wear gloves. If you're a heavy recycler and you recycle a lot of stuff, then guess what? You're going to wear gloves when handling garbage. So him wearing gloves, handling garbage is not a breaking wow moment. Him handling gloves, him wearing gloves while handling garbage is usually what a lot of people do. So I have a hard time with people running with the fact that, oh my God, he was wearing gloves in his house, taking out garbage. Well, now we know that he was literally putting stuff into garbage bags, touching garbage for recycling. That paints a whole different narrative.
As we, went back during break. So I think that kind of made the deliberation a little bit more efficient. Everybody knew the questions they had. We were able to get through them quickly.
When the state introduced all of that evidence about the past financial crimes and the money he'd stolen from clients, the money he'd stolen from the firm as well, did that impact your decision at all? Did that make a difference?
You're so cute.
Well, we could only consider it as part of the motive. It helped showing that he was very convincing and manipulative, and so it made sense.
Murdoch still faces 99 counts of fraud and embezzlement against his own clients and colleagues, more than enough to send him to prison for life, all on their own. But ironically, it's those financial crimes that Murdoch's defense is hoping will get his murder conviction thrown out altogether. Attorney Jim Griffin says Murdoch's appeal will argue that evidence of money theft made the jury more likely to believe the prosecution's case and to disbelieve Murdoch. But Murdoch's problems, they do not end there. The family of longtime housekeeper Gloria Satterfield, who died in 2018 after falling down the stairs at Moselle, has raised questions about her death. No autopsy was ever performed, and the family has now authorized police to exhume her body. Before that, a young classmate of Buster's named Stephen Smith was found dead of an apparent hit and run on the side of a road. A bystander shouted a comment about that death on Friday as Murdoch was leaving court.
Buster is next. Justice for Stephen Smith, Alex. Buster is next. Your son is next, Alex. All right. Found in D.
So Smith's case was reopened during the investigation into Paul and Maggie's death, and his family believes Stephen will get justice as well. But it was the death of Mallory Beach that seemingly set off the epic unraveling of Alec Murdoch that led to all of this. Mallory lost her life in a boat crash in 2019 while Paul was driving drunk. The lawsuit that followed threatened to expose Alec's decades of thievery and lives. And joining me now tonight is Mark Tinsley. He is the Beach family attorney. Thank you so much for being with us tonight, Mark. You know, I was outside the courthouse when Mallory's dad walked out after the sentencing and said that he felt like justice had been served. And it was just so heartbreaking to see him, to know what he must be going through. Does this bring them any sort of peace now that Alec Murdoch will be going away for life?
You know, I don't know that he said it. I came up just, I think, as he was finishing the discussion. And Philip had always said that his daughter wasn't going to die in vain. There was a greater good going to come out of this. And so, you know, they take a lot of comfort in the fact that a lot of people have been helped in all of the things that have been exposed in the investigations that have followed. And they continue to hope that there'll be more accountability in everything that went on, the investigation of the investigation into the criminal case, as well as the actual death of Mallory Beach in the civil case.
So Paul Murdoch is obviously dead. Is there any other legal actions that can be taken in Mallory's case in terms of getting her family some justice?
Well, you know, the justice that we're seeking is accountability and hopefully some change in terms of the sales of alcohol, people turning a blind eye. There's a lot of willful blindness in all of this Murdoch mess. And you know, so that's the justice I think that we can get in Mallory's case. But
no, Jen, that's the thing. They weren't. They said that when they broke into his house to arrest him, he had gloves on and he was putting personal trash into Ziploc bags. That's what they said. Personal trash into Ziploc bags. There was nothing strange about it. That's what I'm trying to say. It's weird. It wasn't anything weird. But in all fairness, most people don't put their personal trash into little bags at 3 o'clock in the morning. It was it just regular trash that he was separating it. To me, that's kind of like OCD shit. But like I said, his DNA is going to be all over the house regardless. So I don't think he was wearing gloves. See, you wear gloves to take garbage out. Some people are like that. He happened to be a night owl. I take garbage out at 3 a.m. I do it all the time, actually. I usually go outside, though, because I'm a chicken shit. And I always think I'm going to be, someone's going to follow me back in my house because I'm weird like that. But I'll leave it by the door for the kids to take out in the morning.
Somewhat intimate knowledge of Alec Murdoch's finances with the cases that you've had in terms of helping Mallory's family. One thing that I've wondered about is there any money left? I mean, where does the money come from now in terms of him paying lawyers, appeals, paying to defend himself in all of these future financial crimes?
Nah, there's no way that the victim's DNA would be at his parents' house. In his parents' garbage. It was a month later. There's no way. See, there you go. Thank you, stay-at-home mom. I use latex gloves to clean my house, pump my gas, and wash my truck. I'm severely OCD. You just proved my whole point. Thank you. Because, of course, he had the assholes come in and you don't know anything about OCD if you think that's OCD. Yeah, it is. I think I know a little bit about it. Because I am definitely not OCD. Yeah, but like stay-at-home mom detective, she said it that, she even pumps gas with gloves on. Some people are like that. Phoenix used to be like that when he was young. I don't know what happened. I think he grew out of it.
The judgment, by consent, we agreed to liquidate the 401k, and after the taxes and penalties were paid, there was some money that went to pay experts, lawyers, and then just over $300,000 that was left that went into the receiver's account.
So there's really not a lot of money left, it doesn't sound like. I mean, everyone just sort of thinks that he was this rich man and that the family has all this money, but it doesn't seem like there's much left.
Well, there's a lot of money somewhere. I mean, he was turning in a lot of, he was turning everything into cash the last 3 years. And so it's hard to fathom that he could have taken all that in drugs. I don't believe it. Never have believed it. I still don't believe it. I mean, he was cashing checks for and doing something with the cash. We just haven't found it yet.
Well, let's hope that a lot of that money can go to the victims who he stole from. Just poor people who are in unfortunate situations. Mark Tinsley, thank you so much for being with us tonight. We appreciate it very much.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
Okay, I want to bring in Dave Ehrenberg. He is the state attorney for Palm Beach County in Florida. He has been following this case very, very closely. I want to talk to you, Dave, about the appeal because his attorneys, Alex.
I'd rather talk about Coberger. So, all right. I'm glad a lot of people in here do use gloves for a lot of different things. That's my whole point. Is he really... All right, let me back up for those of you that came in late. Brian Coberger was arrested a month after the crime, after the murders at his parents' house. He wasn't arrested at his house. He was arrested at his parents' house. Here's the things we don't know. We don't know if he brought any of the items to his parents' house. We don't know if there was anything from the scene in his parents' house. We know none of that. Everything that they found at his house and compared to everything they found at his parents' house, there's no red flags. There's no aha moment. And there's nothing that screams, oh my God, he's guilty. That's what people like Jennifer Coffendorfer should be saying, but she's not. She's already convicted him. He's not guilty yet. Do I kind of think he's guilty in my heart of hearts? Yeah, absolutely I do. I really do. However, the stuff that I keep hearing in these aha moments are not anything to write home about. Again, Brian Coberger was at his own parents' house, the house that he grew up in. DNA is going to be everywhere. His DNA is going to be everywhere. Him wearing gloves to put garbage out or put trash, garbage, you know, in Ziploc bags to throw out is not a aha moment. And the way the media and everybody else tried to make it sound is, you know, the cop saw him at 4 a.m. taking out garbage to the backyard, and he had gloves on and he never did that, and blah, 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 blah. But that's not reality. That's not what we're learning now. What we're learning now is that they busted in the house. He was in the kitchen and he was moving garbage into Ziploc bags because he's OCD. That is not an aha moment. As you can see, 136 people in here, 2 people have already said that they did that it was them. You know, they wear gloves, or they use, you know, Ziploc bags for stuff. Actually, 4 people said it. That's big. So imagine if a lot of people, I clean that late. I don't wear gloves. I wear gloves when I do candles. I do gloves when I wear lipstick. You come in my house and you're going to see a bunch of gloves. Does that mean I'm up to something? No, it means that I don't want to get germs on, you know, when I'm making lipstick or when I'm making candles. That's normal. That's not anything to be like, oh my God, she has gloves in her house. Yeah. Would you want somebody making lipstick without wearing gloves? No. You know what I'm saying? So I just don't see any aha moments. I don't see any big deal with him wearing gloves, putting garbage into Ziploc bags. I just don't. So again, going back to my original thing, could he be innocent? Could this all be circumstances that just are weird? It could. He could have buried it. I think he burned everything, actually, Kit Kat. It would be much better for him to burn everything. Ooh, this I want to hear. Still wondering what personal items are garbage. I don't know. I don't think they mean personal items. I could be wrong, Mickey. I don't believe they mean personal items. I think they mean personal trash. Like, you know, your own garbage, they would refer to as personal trash. That's what I think they mean by personal garbage. Just household garbage. Alma, sometimes with you, I don't know if you're being serious or not, though. Please tell me one case you have seen aha. I've seen a lot of cases with aha moment. Wait till you guys see what I got to show you. I don't want to miss Gabby Petito's dad, though, so I'll wait. But you guys got to see this. I caught this last night. I was like, holy shit. That's fucking crazy. So you guys will see. Let me tell you guys, I want you to know how much you should appreciate me, because I wasn't even going to go live tonight. I promised you guys I would go live every night between 8 and 9. So I went ahead and went live. I've been working with my Cricut. And once you start, you can't stop. You got to get it all done. I had to use gloves as a caretaker during COVID. I got tired of them. I just washed my... I mean, I do too, but certain things I still wear gloves. Making lip balm, making lipstick, you know, personal stuff. But when I clean, I don't wear gloves. When I take out garbage, I don't wear gloves. Hey, East Coast. I was live yesterday. I guess my channel's just getting rid of all the trash. Because it just keeps going down and down and down. But everyone's saying they're not getting notifications. Like I'm thinking about starting a new channel for real. And starting over. Phoenix, I made chicken in the fridge. Okay. Hey, Busted. You did get a notification. A lot of people saying they're not. No, I mean, I'm not getting... It's a little long, but I thought it was cute. Jen, I know that feeling. Woohoo, Janine. Rich, I totally agree. But that's what people want these days. That's seriously what people want. He's got a lot of commercials.
Here's this.
What?
So here's this.
Put it in my wallet. What are you asking me for? How's your arm?
It's doing better.
Good.
I found this in the dryer.
Why?
Probably in one of my pants when we went to the hospital, and you.
Hmm. Have you heard from any more schools yet?
RPI, I got waitlisted.
What's RPI?
Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. It's New York.
Domestic violence bill. It requires police officers to complete something called a lethality assessment form when domestic violence is reported or suspected. It's basically a list of 11 questions a police officer has to ask an alleged suspected victim, such as, has the aggressor ever threatened to kill the victim? Has the aggressor ever tried to choke the victim? Could the aggressor easily get a gun? Does the aggressor follow or spy on the victim? If an officer determines abuse has occurred or a murder is possible, the aggressor can then be arrested right there on the spot. Now, you'll remember Gabby Patito and her boyfriend, Brian Laundrie, were stopped by police in Moab, Utah in August of 2021 on a report of domestic violence. Patito was crying, but the officers somehow concluded that she was the aggressor.
I was distracting him from driving. I'm sorry.
Can I get you to step out of the vehicle for me, ma'am?
Yeah.
You want to tell me what's going on?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just some days I have really bad OCD, and okay. I was just cleaning and straightening up down there. I don't know. We've just been fighting all morning, and he wouldn't let me in the car before. And then
why wouldn't he let you in the car? Because of your OCD?
Told me I needed to calm down.
So rather than arresting anyone, officers arranged for the couple to be separated for the night. Laundrie stayed in a hotel and Patito in the van. They returned the next day, and Laundrie murdered Patito about 2 weeks later. Gabby's parents supported the new bill and were in the state Senate when it passed. And Gabby's father, Joe Patito, joins me now. Joe, it's always nice to see you. I have to say, I can't get over the good that you and your family continue to do in light of the tragedy that you've been through, and that you push these things forward every single day behind the scenes. And I read the new law, and I can't help but think to myself, if something like that had existed, whether Gabby would still be with us today. Joe, are you there? Joe, you might, is Joe on mute? Okay, it looks like we lost Joe for a second. We're gonna try to get him back here. But basically, as I was saying, I mean, this is a family that, you might not know about it because they don't go on TV to talk about these things a lot in the public, but behind the scenes, they have been fighting very, very hard around the country. Not only at the U.S. Capitol, which we're going to get into that too.
Okay, what Brian is forgetting, though, Brian Enton, is that all laws are passed based on something that happened. Amber Law, the Amber Signal, that happened because a girl named Amber was kidnapped and murdered. So to say that, this should have been in effect, yeah, there's a lot of things that should have been in effect that weren't. It's kind of a moot point. because, and if you believe that, you know, everything happens for a reason, then you have to believe that this was the way it was supposed to be.
I mentioned the Help Find the Missing Act. That's actually a national law that is now going into effect. So beyond just what they were doing in Utah, and we're going to get Joe back here in a second because I want to ask him about all of this. I think we're just having a little technical problem on the back end, but he's coming back on in just a second. But Help Find the Missing Act also is also
okay. Anyone that was psychologically abused. Oh, I haven't even looked, Charlie. Anyone that was psychologically abused, which I was by somebody, is a no to every single one of those questions. Doesn't mean I wasn't abused. He just didn't follow any of those. This is only for physical.
very, very important nationwide, because basically what it requires is that they will put all missing persons information into a national database now, which was required in some states previously, but not in all states. So that's another thing that Gabby Petito's family has been working very, very hard on to make sure that that's a requirement in all states. And then also, by the way, we're trying to get Joe back. That's why I'm explaining all this to you, just while we wait to see if he can get back on the Zoom. There's a technical problem happening behind the scenes. So there's the Utah law that they worked on. There's the Help Find the Missing Act. And then also they're just constantly trying to put awareness out there about missing people around the country. I mean, if you follow Joe Patito, or if you follow Nicole Schmidt, Gabby's mom, or if you follow pretty much anyone related to Gabby that's on Twitter, they're constantly posting missing people, which they're an amazing family. We're going to try to get Joe Patito back on. A little bit of a technical problem behind the scenes. We'll work on it, and we'll be right back.
News Nation Live expands to 3 hours.
Where did you send it, Charlie? I just looked.
When you have auto,
I don't have any message from you. I literally just looked. Let me check over here. I have no messages from you anywhere. I checked Perplexed and I checked Energy. So I don't know where you sent me a message, but I don't have one. Oh, I know you can be financially abused. I know. Which name did you send it under? Did you send it to me personally? Did you send it to Perplexed? Did you send it to Energy? I managed 3 different Facebooks. Yeah, but I managed 3 different Facebook accounts. I have my personal, and I have PurpleXedQT, and then I have Energy. Are all Facebook. And I don't see a message from you under any of them. We watched the BK 48 hours documentary. I was bawling. I'm a big sap. See those bright smiles of 4 students with their lives ahead. That's true. But I'm just saying, what if it wasn't him? The cops haven't even looked anywhere else. They automatically have it as him. What if it wasn't? And I'm not saying it's not, but what if it wasn't? I have not seen any overwhelming evidence that tells me it was definitely him. There's nothing to tell me it was him yet. I've seen nothing but sensationalism and facts that are actually getting twisted. I agree with that, Kat. I actually had a great therapist when I needed one. He was mine and Dayton's therapist. What if he was there, but somebody else actually did it? Think about it. There's no video of him doing it. Now, show me some DNA. Okay, I'll buy it. Show me any kind of, exactly. Show me some real evidence. I'm all for it.
Joe, thanks for being with us. As I was saying, I'm just always in awe of the work that you and your family do. It amazes me with everything you've been through that you continue to do this every single day. And Bill 117 in Utah is part of that. And as I was reading about the bill, I couldn't help but think to myself, if something like that had existed, perhaps Gabby would be with us today.
I mean, we do feel that way, but the bill does do a lot of good work, and yeah, we were proud to be a part of it. That was awesome to see, and all the credit goes to Lieutenant Governor Henderson, Senator Weiler, Representative Wilcox. They all worked really hard. It's all in with Mandy Maine's family in regards to what happened there and stuff. So that was tragic, but this has come from that, and like I said, it was just we're proud to be a part of it.
Do you think this is something, Joe, that could spread beyond just Utah? I mean, are you going to take this to other states as well?
We're starting to look, as the four parents, we do work, but still trying to see what we can do and affect the change in a positive way. We do support this. Like I said, this is something that does, it's a huge step forward. We would like to see it in the state of Florida and other states and see it go national, but it's not just about the questions. That's the key there, the questions are great, and the way you ask the questions are extremely important, but it's what follows after those questions that are just as important, if not more. So understanding, to have all the systems in place beforehand is key to the success of this program. So.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Some of this stuff, it's surprising that this doesn't already exist, like what you worked on with the Help Find the Missing Act on the national level, in terms of, when someone goes missing, it should get reported into a national database. I think on the outside, you would have just assumed that this is already happening, but it turns out it's not in some states, and you were able to move that through, and that's on a national level.
Yeah, and that was another amazing thing to be a part of. You would think, when you get into these type of situations, you sometimes you can see some of the stuff that happens, and
there we go.
Sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
Sorry about that. You see some of the shortcomings that happen from being in these situations, and we noticed quite a few gaps that we're just trying to fill. And Tara, myself, Jim, Nikki, we're doing everything we can to try and fill as many as we can.
Unfortunately, I've covered a lot of tragedies lately, including what happened in Idaho, among a bunch of others, unfortunately. And I just always think of you guys and what you went through, and again, the way you've kind of come out of it on the other side in terms of, and I know that doesn't make the pain go away, but trying to help others with the work you're doing. I mean, what do you, and I know you talk to some of these other families, what do you say to these other families that go through these sort of things?
Listen, I'm fortunate. I have a great support system with Tara, Nikki, and Jim, friends, family as well. But we talk all the time, and that is really important. And we try and stress that to people that we talk to, and making sure that they're not alone, and they have the support and all the stuff that they need to kind of navigate these waters. These are painful, hard ways to navigate, and sometimes your brain doesn't exactly work. So when you have a bunch of people together and really, holding each other up, that helps a tremendous amount. So I'll tell you, Jim's amazing. Nikki, Tara, they're all, top-notch amazing. So it's great to have them by our side together.
So you've had the victory in Utah, the Help Find the Missing Act. I see on Twitter you're constantly posting, missing people. What's next on the agenda? Is there something brewing with the Gabby Patito Foundation that we should be following in terms of your next sort of mission?
We have some things that I can't go into detail yet, but we have some things in the works. But if I can ask a favor, if you can put the domestic violence hotline phone number, if maybe in between commercials, if you can share a missing person flyer, something, little things like that. I think you guys call it B-roll, where you see like the anchor sitting there shuffling papers for a few seconds. We don't need to see you guys shuffling papers. It'd be awesome if you can put up a missing person flyer or a phone number to a support system that could really make a difference. These are the people that are watching your network, and stuff like that could make a huge impact.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I'm filling in this week, so you have my word. We will put up a missing person every night, and we will put up the domestic violence hotline. And if you don't follow Joe Patito on Twitter, you should, because he's bringing light to cases that deserve attention that aren't getting the attention. Mr. Patito, thank you as always. We appreciate you coming on tonight.
Thank you very much, Brian. Talk to you soon.
Okay, still to come tonight, the Doomsday Mom and her looming triple murder trial. A judge now says she must answer for those deaths alone, not alongside her zombie cult leader husband. Why will he get a separate murder trial, and could this help him avoid the death penalty? We're going to break it all down next.
All right. So I have to warn you guys, what I'm about to show you is sick. All right? What I'm about to show you might make you cringe. But what I'm about to show you is like, whoa. No. All right. So I have to give you a little background. Hold on. Oh, no. Where'd it go? All right. Hold on. All right. So here's a little bit of a background. No animals are involved. All right, here's a little bit of a background. This is the guy you're watching, the one in the yellow. He's in court for a stand. I found this last night at like 1 o'clock in the morning. I was making candles and I was watching this and I was like, holy shit, I got to show that, visual. And I was like, I need to show that. But I can't show you the whole kit and caboodle because it's too long. I got to make it, visual friendly. So he's in court for a drug violation. He didn't show up to drug court. So Genius thinks he's going to escape the courtroom. Watch what happens. Warning. I'm just giving you all a warning.
A warning here. What you're about to see is disturbing. Rudd just...
Did you all see that? I'll play that again. What?
A warning here. What you're about to see is disturbing.
That motherfucker goes right over. Boom!
Rudd just fell 18 feet.
18 feet. 18 feet. He lived. He's fine. Watch that again.
Unnoticed. A warning here. What you're about to see is disturbing.
Boom! Right over.
Rudd just fell 18 feet onto a solid marble.
18 feet on a solid marble floor. How fucking crazy is that? No, he had handcuffs on. You know what's funny? You know what saved his life? Which you find out later. No, he didn't die. He's fine. Is one of the bailiffs or whatever. This bailiff saved him by his foot.
18 feet onto a solid marble floor. The equivalent of jumping head first out a second-story window in handcuffs. Take a look from the security camera in the front lobby. This bailiff instinctively tries to catch the defendant.
How crazy is that? But it seemed what you find out later is that he actually hit the bailiff's foot. It was a long time ago, but he actually hit the bailiff's foot, which saved his head. Isn't that crazy though? I saw that. I was like, holy shit, I gotta show that on YouTube. You want to see it again? I think it's kind of funny. Look at that. Fucking dove head first. Head first. The guy says he thought it was a kid. Like he thought a kid fell over the railing. They don't know if he fell or if he tried to jump. But look at that. Is that insane? Oh, I was cracking up stoned. I watched it like 10 times. They don't know if he went too fast and he flew over, but he was thankful he didn't die. Yeah, that's what they're saying. The bailiff came on after, and the bailiff said, you know, like, why'd you do that? And they said, one, he thought it was a kid, but he instinctively, sees someone coming over. And so his higher up said, good job, but don't ever do that again. No, bailiff wasn't injured. Isn't that crazy, though? You want to see it again?
Here, what you're about to see is disturbing.
No!
Rudd just fell 18 feet onto a...
How insane is that? Exactly. Too bad he didn't have a Tesla. Nah, he survived, though. He was fine. They took him to the hospital, and he was fine. But can you imagine? I just wanted to show you guys that. It's insane, right? Yeah, I agree. He had to be seeing stars. Oh, I should act it. That's a good idea. Isn't that wild, though? That was really the most exciting thing on this thing.
A warning here. What you're about to see is disturbing.
Oh.
Rudd just fell 18 feet onto a solid...
He's doing 1020 and he's an eligible bachelor. No, he didn't try to kill himself. He was in court for drugs. He didn't show up to drug court. And then some other dude later on in the show was supposed to do, I'll show you another clip. He was supposed to do 60 days and he ended up on a high-speed chase for leaving court and ended up doing 365. Oh, for anyone that was in my live last night, remember some idiot brought up Larry Nassar? I thought it was funny that I saw this.
I feel that my entire family has gone through hell and back. Honestly, you are a poison to this earth.
You son of a... No, we don't want to swear. I would ask you to, as part of this sentencing, to grant me 5 minutes in a locked room with this demon.
I have
Would you do that?
That is not how
Yes or
our.
no?
No, sir, I can't.
Would you give me 1 minute?
You know that I can't do that. That's not how our legal system works.
We're back with the sentencing of Larry Nassar. After 2 of his daughters.
Father went after him. But there's another one that's pretty sick. That's the one that escaped. It's not what I was looking for, though. Oh, this was funny. Some idiot dropped cocaine in a courtroom. I was like, you dumbass. Where's the other one? Maybe it's on season 2. I'll save it for next time. But yeah, it's a pretty interesting show. It's not so bad. Yeah, but it's Hulu, so it's probably going to get struck. But I just had to show you guys that. I thought it was fucking hysterical. Failure to follow through on court-ordered drug treatment. That was his crime originally. Yeah, there's another case in here where the father goes after the guy. I can't find it, though. The father attacks him. And the guy just, like, kind of smirked at him. Crazy, crazy. All right, I'm getting off, though. I'm heading back to my cricket. And I'm probably going to bed early. Because I'm tired. But I want to finish learning my cricket. So, I will see you all tomorrow. Have a wonderful night. And be nice to each other. And be thankful I went live tonight. Because I'm telling you guys, I'm trying to change. I'm trying to stick it with my stick with what I promised you guys. So, all right. I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a wonderful night. Peace, love. And that's it.